The night I walked into my bathroom was supposed to be ordinary, the kind of quiet that barely leaves a memory. The light flickered on, steam hung in the air, and then I froze, because there was a woman standing there, barefoot on the cold tiles, eyes wide with fear. She raised her hands as if I were the danger and whispered, "Please, can I stay for one night?" In that second, every instinct told me to step back, to ask questions, to protect myself, but something in her trembling voice hooked me so deeply that I knew, whatever happened next, my life would not return to the way it was before that door opened. Please subscribe now. I hadn't been expecting anyone. I lived alone, carefully, quietly, after a divorce that taught me how easily trust can collapse. The woman wrapped herself in a towel like a shield, water dripping from her hair onto the floor. She explained in broken sentences that she had mistaken my apartment for the one upstairs. Her key had worked because the locks were old. She could leave, she said, but her voice cracked as if the word leave was heavier than it should be. I offered her a hoodie and sat on the edge of the couch, leaving space between us like a promise. She told me her name was Aisha, that she had run away from a place where nights were louder than screams and silence hurt more than bruises. She didn't ask for pity, just one night of safety. I wanted to say yes without thinking, but fear whispered that kindness can cost you. Still, I nodded, because sometimes doing the right thing feels like standing at the edge of a cliff and choosing to trust the air. That night, sleep came in pieces. I heard her cry softly from the guest room, the kind of crying people do when they don't want to be heard. In the morning, I made tea, and we sat across from each other like strangers sharing a fragile truth. She apologized too much. I listened more than I spoke. She planned to leave by evening. When she did, the apartment felt emptier than it ever had before. Days passed. I told myself the story was over. But kindness, once given, doesn't vanish, it waits. A week later, the knock came again, sharp and desperate, the kind that drags your heart into your throat before your mind can catch up. When I opened the door, there she was, rain-soaked, shaking, eyes darker with fear than before. "I didn't know where else to go," she said, and that sentence became the hook that pulled me into a choice I could no longer avoid. This time, the danger was real. Someone was looking for her. She had tried shelters, tried buses, tried courage, and it had failed her. I felt the old fear rise, the memory of betrayal tightening my chest. But I also saw a human being at the edge of breaking. I told her to come in. The days that followed were not easy. Trust didn't bloom overnight, it limped forward. We argued about boundaries, about plans, about whether hope was realistic or reckless. I helped her file a report. She helped me learn how to speak again about things I had buried. One evening, she admitted she was ashamed for needing help. I told her I was ashamed for needing walls. Somewhere between shared meals and long silences, we stopped being strangers. She found a job. I found a reason to believe that opening your door doesn't mean losing yourself. The night she finally packed her bag to move into her own place, she stood in the doorway, smiling through tears. "Thank you for one night," she said, "that turned into a future." When the door closed, the apartment was quiet again, but this time, it wasn't empty. I understood then that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is say yes when fear tells you no. Because one night of shelter can become a lifetime of courage, and the stranger you help might just save you too. The moment I pushed the bathroom door open, time seemed to fold in on itself. Steam rolled toward me like a warning, and then I saw her, standing there as if she had fallen out of my life from somewhere I didn't remember living. Her eyes locked onto mine, terrified, pleading, and before I could speak or even breathe properly, she whispered, "Please, can I stay for one night?" That single sentence wrapped around my chest and tightened, because something in me knew this wasn't just a mistake or an awkward coincidence. This was the beginning of a night that would follow me for the rest of my life. That I stepped back slowly, heart racing, trying to understand how a stranger could be in my apartment, in my bathroom, like fate had missed a step. She hugged herself, water dripping from her hair, her hands shaking as if the world had finally caught up to her. She explained in fragments, apologizing between breaths, that she thought this was her friend's place upstairs, that the lock turned too easily, that she would leave if I wanted her to. But the way she said leave felt heavier than the word should ever be. I handed her a towel, then a hoodie, keeping my distance, fighting the instinct to protect myself with suspicion. Her name was Zara. She said she had nowhere safe to sleep. Just one night. That was all she asked for, one night where she wouldn't have to look over her shoulder. That I had spent years building walls after learning how fragile trust can be. Living alone was my way of staying in control, of keeping pain predictable. Letting her stay felt reckless, almost foolish. Yet, something deeper than logic moved me. I nodded, unsure if I was brave or simply tired of being closed off. That night, neither of us slept much. I lay awake listening to the faint sounds from the guest room, wondering what kind of life leads someone to ask a stranger for shelter with nothing but hope left to offer. When morning came, the silence between us felt careful, respectful. Over tea, she shared pieces of her story, enough to understand the fear, not enough to drown in it. She left that evening, thanking me with eyes that said more than words could carry. I told myself it was over. Just one night. That's what we both said, but some nights refused to stay in the past. The knock came days later, hard and urgent, the kind that doesn't ask for permission, it demands a decision. When I opened the door and saw her again, soaked from the rain, breath uneven, fear written openly across her face, my heart dropped. I didn't know where else to go, she said, and in that moment, I realized the first night hadn't been the test, this was. Someone was searching for her. The danger she ran from had found her trail again. Every instinct screamed at me to step away, to protect the quiet life I had rebuilt. But another voice, steadier and stronger, reminded me that safety shared is never wasted. Letting her back in changed everything. We had difficult conversations, uncomfortable silences, moments where fear and hope collided. I helped her find resources, helped her believe that escape didn't mean weakness. She helped me remember what it felt like to care without calculating the risk first. There were nights when the weight of responsibility pressed heavy on my chest, when I questioned whether kindness always had a cost. But there were also mornings filled with small victories, job interviews, genuine laughter, plans that reached further than tomorrow. Eventually, the day came when she didn't need my door anymore. She packed her bag, standing in the same doorway where she once begged for just one night. Her smile was steadier now, her eyes brighter. "You gave me more than shelter," she said quietly. "You gave me a beginning." When she walked away, the apartment returned to silence, but it wasn't the lonely kind. It was the peaceful silence of knowing I had done something that mattered.